You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hey, everybody. It's Desmond. Stay tuned so you can see who is the guest that I have to take the place of Rich, who is still out lollygagging somewhere. So stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Geek Chat. I'm Dez, and this is my good friend.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff. Longtime friend of Desmond.
Thank you. yes, Jeff is the whitest Wakandan, one of the blackest people I have ever met. So he's a good friend of mine. He's going to be taking the place of Rich for this week's episode. Rich should be back next week. So, and he'll be able to tell us about all of his fantastical magical trips that he has been on in Banjo Country.
Banjo, where is he?
Back east somewhere in Banjo Country. That's what I call it, at least, because wouldn't catch me where he's from. That's for sure. So just a little bit of background about my good friend Jeff. We have been friends for quite a long time, since freshman year in high school, if you can believe this. Jeff tells
1990.
Jeff tells a fantastic story of how we met. Jeff, please enlighten the folks about how you met me, because you were the one that introduced yourself to me, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, which is not something I would typically do. So I came from a pretty small junior high. It was actually K through 8, and the entire school was maybe a couple hundred students. So we get to the big city high school, and there's a ton of people, and it's all sorts of people. Types of people I've never seen before. And we're in the auditorium for orientation, and I see this guy sitting all by himself reading a comic book. And I'm like, well, I need to make friends with this guy because he's reading a comic book. I've never seen anyone at school reading a comic book because that's a good way to get made fun of. So I walked up and said, "Hey, what are you reading?" And he couldn't get rid of me ever since.
Yep. I think it was a Marvel comic at the time, if I remember correctly. I have this vague memory of it being that Stan Lee Silver Surfer that he did with Mobius, because I was a huge Mobius fan. Still am.
That's right.
And he came up to me, introduced himself, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And so we just started chatting, and we've been lifelong friends ever since then, bonding over comic books, specifically over Marvel comic books. If I could say one thing about my friend Jeffro, that's his nickname, we call him. He
coined by you.
Yeah, I coined him Jeffro. If he had a tattoo on his back or anywhere, it'd probably be "Make Mine Marvel," because he is a diehard Marvel fan. It's pretty crazy. So
it was kind of one of those things. What did you grow up with?
Yeah.
My first comic book actually was a DC comic. When I lived in Phoenix, my uncle took me to the comic book store, and I saw the last 2 issues of the Mask miniseries published by DC. Remember that toy line with the cars transform and the helmets come down? I loved that cartoon.
Yeah.
So those are the first 2 I bought. And then we went back, I think, next week, and this title grabbed my eye called Wild Dog from DC. And I picked up the first couple issues of those. I picked up 1 and 2, never found 3, and I got 4. Collecting comic books back then was not easy. Mail order was barely a thing. The internet was a decade off. So, if your city didn't have a shop, good luck finding what you were looking for.
That's true. I mean, back then you could get them on the rack, but who wanted to buy a comic book on the rack? When you can go to a cool comic book store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and Phoenix was big. Phoenix was big enough back then. They had one.
Yeah. And Fresno, of course. We cut our teeth catching the bus over to a place called Sierra Comics. So, I remember that catching the maybe you were with us. We caught the bus over right when New Mutants, the New Mutants with Rob Liefeld came out.
Yes.
And we bought all those covers and stuff. It was just really bananas,
And all 5 of the X-Men a couple weeks later.
Yep. So I want to say hello to everybody who is tuned in. Hi, Paul. Yes, second replacement Rich. He says hello. Hi, Kelly.
Just for this, he'll be back next week.
He will be back next week. And hi, Steve. And yes, we are doing a giveaway. We are giving away a variant comic. If you could put that up there, that is a fantastic comic. Please note that you cannot win this, Jeff, this week. So.
Nope. I wouldn't want to. That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you cannot win that one. But that is a 1 in 25 from. I just had it. Damn, I just had it. It's
It looks familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
But that's kind of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that's kind of a hard one too, because I love Jean Grey. She's one of my favorites. So that is a really cool cover. I might have to pick that up on my own.
Definitely. So that is a 1 in 25 cover by our good friend. I wish he was a good friend. Mahmoud Asra. And that is the Rise of Powers of X number 5. Just came out. We are going to be reviewing that comic at the end of the show. So how to enter? It's quite simple. Just look at your screen and put in hashtag lowercase exp uppercase TGC lowercase variant. The whole word spelled out. Please note that you can only enter to win on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. The winner will be announced at the end of the show, and you can only win once per every 30 days. So just a note. So please, everybody, flood the comment section with hashtag experience TGC variant. You can see it on your screen right now. If you have one before last week's winner, Lyle, if you're watching, please fill out the paperwork. There will be a link in the description, so please fill that out. Yes, Steve. I read all of Dynamo 5, and it was a fantastic book. And I'm glad that he is still doing work to this day. So yes, winner, please do that as well. Hello, Phil. Welcome. So a little bit more background about Jeff and I. Jeff and I so back in the day, we're old enough to remember malls, and going to the mall. And I remember specifically at Manchester Center, and sometimes at Fashion Fair, the old Fashion Fair, they would do these conventions. And they would host, sometimes they would have comic books, in the mall. And I don't know if you all remember that. Please sound off in the chat if you do. You could go and you could see all kinds of like comic books and stuff. And, I wonder if they still do them now, but I always thought that was a really fantastic way to do that.
Yeah, especially Fashion Fair, because the mall had this big, wide indoor like lane with the shops on either side. So yeah, the vendors would just put up their tables and bring out all their back issues, and if they did that now, it would be tables full of pops. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, actually, Desmond, Sierra Vista Mall last year actually did something very similar. In fact, I ran into a guy and started talking to him. He had a full size remote control R2D2 that he was rolling around. Yeah, it was really cool.
I'm so happy that they still do that, because I remember I bought a ton of comics at that one because I'd always bug my mom, but give me some idea I want to buy comics. But anyway, I digress.
And then every once in a while we'd get one at the Hilton would come in for a proper convention.
Yes, Steve, as in mall rats. So, but yeah, that was fun times. But then this guy right there next to me, he and two other really good friends of mine, a man named Josh and a man named Jason, when we were 16 years old, went to our first comic book convention. It was WonderCon 1992. I begged and pleaded my mom, please, please, please let us go. And she said, okay. And if you remember, WonderCon was at the Hilton in Oakland. And so the Hilton in Oakland, there was the hotel and they had a giant convention center. So what was great was you would have the hotel and you could just go downstairs to the convention center, easy peasy. So, I begged my mom, please, please, please take us. And they all asked their parents. And I can only imagine what the parents were saying to each other, without our ears hearing. But they said okay, and my mom chaperoned 4 boys, and we
very brave.
My mom was very brave. Well, my mom had the room right next to us, so
yeah,
it was the 4 of us in one room, 2 beds, and then my mom's room next to us, and she was just like, "All right, y'all, have fun, don't go crazy, have fun." And we saved up our money, and we went down there, and it was the first con that I had been to, and we were
Same.
so silly. I never forget. Like,
yeah,
I remember meeting Arthur Adams for the first time.
Yes,
to sign all of tons of X-Men stuff. This is long before any of that stuff was worth anything. Yes, Steve. My mom was a real trooper. She was crazy.
She was. Yeah, she took us twice.
Yeah, I forgot about the second time.
Yeah, we went 2 years.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about the second time because that first time was just so crazy. So I remember she let us go into San Francisco to see Jason's uncles. So we had so we're 16-year-olds. What was that?
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, we're 16-year-olds, in the hate in San Francisco. And then we were hanging out and we missed the bus to get back on BART to go back. And I remember Jason's uncle, because he's gay, he's passed now, but his partner at the time drove us back to Oakland, and that was just the funnest thing. We ended up doing that, but yeah, it was a great time. That would really solidified my love for cons, and yeah. So it's if you've never been to a convention, a comic book convention, please do yourself a favor and go. Even if it's your local one, even if you live close, they're all relatively the same. It just depends on the level of I guess star power they have and what they're doing.
Right.
Like I've been to multiple cons and I love them all in their own special ways. You go to Comic-Con, it's more of an entertainment convention in which you're going to see a lot of different entertainment besides comic books. If you go to New York, you're going to see a lot more stars, because their big thing is that they have a lot of stars that come in and do signings and photos and stuff like that. But if you go to like Emerald City, or if you go to WonderCon, or if you go to C2E2, I've never been there, but from what I understand, it's more like New York. But if you go to, I've been to Emerald City Con in Seattle a bunch of times, and I've been to WonderCon down in Anaheim a bunch of times. So if you go to either one of those, you're gonna get a regular comic book convention type of thing. And even New York was more of a traditional comic book convention, and by that I mean, you're meeting the artists and the writers and the creators of said comics. So, and that's a difference. When you go to Comic-Con, you were paying to see the latest movies that are coming out from Marvel. Although unfortunately, though, the heyday of the Fantastic Con, I think, unfortunately, has kind of passed. Because when you would go in like 2015, 2014, 2013, around right when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was kicking off and Iron Man was really crushing stuff, Comic-Con was insane. It was crazy. I really wish you could have came with us one of those. Because
me too.
The level, hi Kenneth, the level of people that you would see and the stuff that you would, and like how Marvel would just, I remember one year they had when Thor was coming out, they had Odin's throne in the center of Comic-Con. It was amazing. I remember when Transformers were coming. They had the giant, Optimus Prime. Fantastic stuff.
I remember seeing pictures of that. That was impressive.
Yeah. So
I've wanted to go to Emerald City Comic Con. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes.
And a lot of the creators, the newer creators I follow and like now, that's the show they're going to.
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely going to have a lot more fun at Emerald City. Now, if you really want to see a lot of writers and artists, you got to go to New York City. Their artist alley is like double the size of Comic-Con's, and it's
Really?
just packed with people that with they're packed with artists and writers that I've never even met that don't even go to Comic-Con. So I was just blown away by the amount of people that I was able to meet. So yeah, definitely, if you have the chance to go, please go. You will not be you'll not be disappointed. I know it costs a lot of money sometimes, but if you're able to go, please do. And again, go to a local one. Go to WonderCon. WonderCon never sells out. It's in Anaheim. It's right around the corner from Disneyland, so you can actually do Disneyland and WonderCon if you want. We've done that a couple of times. Definitely worth it. I mean, I think WonderCon is a fantastic starter con for anyone who wants to go out and explore that, experience that.
And you can obviously speak to this more than I can, because I haven't been to WonderCon since '93. But on the scale of comics and entertainment, WonderCon seems to be heavier on the comic side than Comic-Con would be, with the the movies and all the new projects.
Most definitely, and I think Emerald City is closer to the comic book side, and right in the middle would be kind of like New York. So Steve asks, Jeff, you must be a bit of an X-Men mutant fan. I guess he's looking at the back of all your omnibuses in the back of your wall.
Oh, yeah, this is my X-Men section right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so circling back a little bit to our conversation, after we moved from Phoenix to Fresno, my dad gave me a stack of Iron Man comics. And that was my first exposure to Marvel. And if just Iron Man comics would have been fine. He gave me Armor Wars.
Oh, wow. The first one?
Yeah. The original Armor Wars. Yeah. And I fell in love. So there was Marvel from there on. And as Desmond said earlier, we would, I anyway, would buy comics from the spinner rack at our local grocery store. And one day I saw this crazy looking cover with all these colorful characters on it. Didn't know who they were. Didn't know anything about any of them. One of the dudes had knives coming out of his hands. One of the chicks had a mohawk. I was like, I need to know what's going on here. And it was X-Men 2. Oh, I'm gonna forget. 219.
Oh,
219. It was when Havoc,
the one where Nightcrawler's all beat up on the cover.
No, it's the one where the X-Men are ganging up on Havoc. I might have that number wrong, but it's when Havoc rejoins the team.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was
Poor Havoc.
It was the middle of a story arc. I didn't know who anyone was, had no idea what was going on, and for some reason, one set of good guys was talking about killing another good guy, but I was hooked, and I've been an X-Men fan ever since.
Yeah, and that's the first Armor Wars was fantastic. Really great stuff.
Yeah,
Devil in a bottle. But that's a great segue into one of the conversations we want to get into, because we're both really big X-Men fans. And I know that I spoke a little bit about this with Rich, but I really wanted to get your overall take. So at the end of, later on in the show, we are going to talk about the final X-Men, Follow the House of X #5. We'll be talking about that. But I wanted to get your thoughts, on From the Ashes, A New Beginning. All of the books have been announced. We get, a new X-Men by McKay and Stegman, exceptional X-Men by Ewing and Carnero.
Gail Simone. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, you're right. Uncanny X-Men with Simone and Marquez, Phoenix, X-Force, Storm, NYX, X-Force, Wolverine, Dazzler.
Dazzler is back.
I'm surprised by Dazzler. But what are your thoughts?
I'm not, and we can talk about that.
But what are your thoughts? Like you can start anywhere. What are your thoughts on the slate of the books that are coming out right now? Like, the Krakoan era is done. We're moving away from that. It looks to be, if you read anything about the Free Comic Book Day book that Gail Simone did, it seems like the X-Men are outlaws. The only problem is I really wish they were outlaws in Australia, but I digress. So which one are you the most excited for?
I mean, the adjective-less X-Men title does sound good. I mean, I've always liked the idea of the X-Men being on the run. I mean, back to their original tagline is protecting the people that hate and fear them.
Yep.
You mentioned Australia. One of my favorite X-Men eras was the Outback era.
Oh yeah.
And it was because it was so un-X-Men. I mean, Xavier's dream was almost forgotten. The team was falling apart. They had no direction. They had this grand plan to strike back at their enemies since everyone thought they were dead. That didn't really go anywhere. And the team just kind of crumbled and fell apart. And it was glorious. I mean, I hate seeing our mutants, put through the ringer, but that's why we keep coming back to them. And this feels like it might be in somewhere in that vein. They're on the run, no allies. They don't have their island anymore. They don't have the mansion, no Professor X. And what do we do from here? What do we do post Krakoa? Where does the mutant community go from here? And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm really anxious to see what the new status quo is, because Krakoa was one of the best eras of X-Men I've ever read.
I mean, of course, it has ups and downs, but overall,
absolutely, yeah.
If you look overall at like a 5-year period of the Krakoan era, yes, I definitely think it was good. I cannot wait. So I was kind of popping in and out of the Krakoan era because I wasn't really sure what was going on, and there was the turmoil when Hickman left, and them trying to regroup and bring it in and make a much more cohesive story. I was like, I don't know. But I'm thinking now that it's over, it would be fantastic to read some of those books in trades. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about the Krakoan era is and people can, bat their head and, close their eyes or whatever, roll their eyes. But I loved that they brought back a whole bunch of mutants who had died. I really liked that, and I liked that we got to see a bunch of mutants in other series. Like I loved seeing the folks they brought back in Sword, WizKid, all these other people who
WizKid was great.
That's what I mean, and it's like, so I really hope. So one of my hopes in these new series is that doesn't get lost. We get to see books with those characters, because and I really hope that they're not a part of what happened when we talk about at the end of Fall of House of X. But I hope that some of those folks come in and are a part of these books, because the one that I'm really interested in is the one with Gail Simone. I am a lover of that classic family dynamic of the X-Men. I love that. And I have read a lot of Gail Simone's books, and the fact that she is doing this just seems so cool. And
it's a good sign.
And I think we might get a little bit of that X-Men 97 kind of vibe too, a little bit. But
we have to consider the impact that show made, and it is going to have repercussions in the comic books. Not even talking about the future movies and other cartoons, but I think people are seeing what they did with X-Men 97 and saying, okay, let's see if there's anything there.
So which one are you kind of a little lukewarm about?
So it's probably in between maybe X-Force and NYX. I'm kind of looking forward to NYX because I love Miss Marvel. I love X-23. I'm not too familiar with some of the newer, younger mutants, but that one could be fun. I'm really looking forward to the regular X-Men title and the Phoenix title for sure.
Yeah. Everything that happened outside of what happened at this last issue of Fall of the House of X, I am really like, okay, what's going on here?
without any spoilers, we've never seen Jean in the kind of position she's going to be in during the reset. So it's a new take on something we've seen a lot of. So it could be good.
Yeah, and I think that's what you hit it on right then and there, because the Phoenix was only supposed to be a one and done kind of thing, and it's always popped up and tied to her and tied to her and tied to her, but we've never really seen Jean explore her and Phoenix's ties, and calling,
which are deep.
Yeah, and now we're finally going to be able to see what that story is, what that story transcends into, because we have this sort of baby Phoenix. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but we have this, it's not just her by herself. She has this baby Phoenix, and she's, this mother me and all this other stuff that I really am kind of like, I'm kind of excited to see what's happened, because it's always been this, they've always been sort of adversaries, but still friendly to each other. And so to finally have her really sit down and explore what that looks like, especially in the stars, and meeting other civilizations, and see how they process the Phoenix, I think it's going to be really fun. I really hope, oh my God, I really hope we get a lot of Shi'ar stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you happen to see...
Go ahead, sorry. No, go ahead.
Did you happen to see the solicit for issue 3 that came out today?
No, I did not. Please let us know.
All I will say, the Black Order.
Oh, well, hey.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think one of the things that I've always enjoyed, another aspect that I've always enjoyed about the X-Men is their cosmic stories. The last one that I had that I felt was really, really fantastic was the Vulcan saga with the Shi'ar. I thought that was phenomenal. People didn't like it, but I thought that whole thing was great. Oh, so look, everybody. Rich is in the comments. Thank you so much, Rich. Rich says, Jean deserves the Phoenix, especially after Aaron's fanfic with Echo getting it. I can't wait to see her working with it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Since Rich brought it up, that has bugged me. Jean and Phoenix and Jean. I have nothing against Echo, but come on.
Yeah, come on. I think Jason Aaron wanted to raise Echo to a higher state from being just a street level character or street level base, but I don't think that was the right way to do it. I think he shot a dart, and it just completely missed the board with that. Yeah, I was not a big fan of that as well. I was like yeah.
Okay. It's comic books. Wait a couple months and it'll retcon itself.
Rich says, honestly, Rachel was the best host.
She controlled it better.
Well, that's only because Jean did not fully get her potential.
Oh, okay. Good point. See, we never saw Rachel go Dark Phoenix.
Nope. And I think that's what's different is Rachel was sort of almost raised with it, whereas Jean, it was like it really tried to corrupt her and take her over.
And Jean always, in some way, was rejecting the Phoenix, where Rachel, and especially that last 199, she embraces her heritage as a Phoenix and takes it on as her mantle, and I loved that. That was great.
Yeah.
Anything Claremont does, I'm with.
Yeah, me too. And he seems like a very nice guy. So anyway, that takes us to our first break, and when we get back, we will be reviewing indies. So you got to wait a little bit, but we're going to be reviewing 2 indies and one crazy comic that I actually liked, which was very surprising. So stay tuned.
Something is speaking to you.
Buy more comics.
Just at the edge of your perception, your senses fill with visions of vortices. 360 Comics. Slowly drawing you to one thundering epiphany.
360 Comics!
360 Comics!
The universe is telling you to shop with 360 Comics. Joe's got amazing stock from high dollar to $5 books from Silver Age to modern, CGC, variant covers, and more. 360 Comics every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, part of The Experience. Ask your local comic shop to add BattleQuest comics to your pull list today.
Download our app on Google Play and the App Store. It's so simple, even my mommy can use it.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Geek Chat. I'm Dez.
I am Jeff Rowe, the whitest Wakandan for my friends.
Yep. And we're here talking about comics. Definitely, we're not the only show on the Experience. They have a fantastic lineup of quality, comic book oriented programming that you can see every day. And it seems that we're on Thursdays, and Thursdays has a fantastic lineup. Starts off with Jam Comics. After Jam Comics, we have the Dan Wickline Show. And after them, right before us, we have What's in the Box with Miss Jen. So definitely tune in for that. That's at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. West Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time. Now I know how Rich feels. And then you have us, the Geek Chat, here at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then after us, we have Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. They show up. There's about a 30-minute break because we're usually done around 6:30, and they hop on at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So please check it out. They always have really fantastic guests, and they just sit around, talk about stuff, and they have fantastic giveaways as well. I'm sure JD, our fantastic, lovely assistant, will put up a link to who they have on tonight. So thank you so much for doing that. And lastly, please, if you haven't already, we are giving away another fantastic variant cover. It is The Rise of Powers of X #5. It is the 125 variant by Mahmoud Asra. So please, it's very simple. Put in the hashtag lowercase EXP, uppercase TGC, lowercase variant, all spelled out. Please note, you can only enter on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. And if you win, you cannot win again for another 30 days. Just FYI. So please, if you haven't already, put in that hashtag. Rich, you cannot enter. I knew you were going to write that. That's why I wanted to say it immediately. Rich, you cannot enter. Sorry, buddy. Neither can Coog. So get your hands off that keyboard. So the comics that we're going to review today, we're going to start. I wanted to start with a Marvel one because because my good friend Jeff Rowe, the whitest Wakandan, is a Make Mine Marvel stand, I wanted to. We'll see no DC on this list tonight, so no DC at all. It's all Marvel.
Now I should say
Marvel and Indies.
There's no DC hate. There's no DC hate.
No,
I have no hate in my heart for DC Comics or fans. I want the best for them. I just don't read them.
He just doesn't read them. Although I keep telling him he needs to watch My Adventures of Superman because it came back. Season 2 started on Max. It's fantastic. Watch it after you watch us in Mog and Mel. So it's on. It's back. It's great. We will be talking about it next week, Rich and I. So it's fantastic. Yes, we will be. It's amazing. Hush, Joe. Joe says boo because you're not a DC fan. Joe's an old school DC fan, so it's funny. So
again, that's why I disclaimed. No hate.
Yeah, no hate. He just doesn't read it. So one thing I did make him read, and I was actually surprised. This is the comic that I actually liked. I'm gonna give you some spoilers. What I actually liked it. It was Helverine #1. Helverine. So I got the Scotty Young cover. I thought it was cute.
Oh, that's pretty.
And I had to get the Scotty Young cover. I saw it and I was like, okay, this is adorable. So,
I have a half of a short box of Scotty Young cover. So yes, I agree.
Okay. Did you pick this one up?
I haven't yet. I probably will after I checked it out though. It's I'm not the supernatural side of the Marvel universe wasn't always a corner I got to a lot. And I did take a 15-year break from comic books right about the time Chris Claremont left the X-Men and the Marvel brain drain formed Image. But came back eventually. And so Dakin as a character is not someone I'm super familiar with. He was kind of popular when I was gone. Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. The art was really neat.
Yeah. So
nice
let me read
Wolverine.
Let me read the credits. So we have Benjamin Percy was the writer. Julius Ota was the artist. Color artist was Frank Di Armata. And the letterer was VC's Travis Lanham. I thought the art was really, really good in it. I was very like, So I did not know who Helverine was, so I'm really happy that they gave a little explanation about what it was at the beginning. I thought that was really necessary, in which I guess Mephisto had another demon that possessed Wolverine, and then the Ghost Rider and Wolverine had to fight it out. He was exorcised, and the demon was gone. Well, the demon is back.
Oh.
The demon is back, and he possessed what looks to be Wolverine. And of course, the government, being the shady as they are, digs up some soldiers that they believe, because of course, in this universe, in Marvel universe, and maybe in this universe too, I don't know, but once you're bought and paid for by the military, you don't get to die. No, too much money was spent into you, so they basically resurrected these soldiers, a la Universal Soldiers, if you're old enough to remember that movie. Using hellfire. So I really liked that the mad scientists were able to sort of a la, Rasputin and Hitler. If you read any Hellboy comics, they use the occult, and demon fire is a type of energy that they used to sort of Frankenstein these dead soldiers back to life. And of course, they go on a rampage. And then it was up to this Helverine to stop it. And everyone thinks that it's Wolverine, but it's not. Spoilers, it's Daken.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So the experience says he always thought it was pronounced Dakin. Dakin sounds more like
they're probably right. I'm probably saying it wrong.
More like a delicious pastry. I've heard it both ways. I don't really know. I've heard it as Dakin, Dakin. So I've heard all different ways. So anyway, Wolverine's son, who was killed in Wolverine a couple issues ago in the Sabretooth War, Sabretooth basically cut Dakin, cut him up, and then laid him out, his body parts out for Wolverine. And that was like his opening salvo. So I had no idea that Helverine was going to be Ken. So when it was him at the end, I was like, oh damn, So because I thought to myself, are they really going to have Wolverine be a Hell Spawn? In addition to all the other stuff he's doing, but to have it be Ken is really kind of cool. What were your overall thoughts of this book? I mean, I know you were a longtime Wolverine fan, and I know that you said that you
Definitely.
weren't. And I think they kind of did something that was a bit misleading. In the cover, you can see that he has the 3 claws like Wolverine, but Ken always had the 2 claws and the 1 claw in his wrist. So I think they did that on purpose to kind of throw people off. But I would love for them to explain it, although they probably won't. But overall, what was
I'm sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
I just said apologize. I totally spoiled the ending.
No. We talked about spoilers.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
Well, this issue did what a first issue needs to do. I want to find out what happens in issue number 2 because it was really cool. I didn't know that history that you just talked about Helverine. I thought this was a new, brand new character. So I've got some reading to do. Like you said, the art was fantastic. I'm not familiar with this artist, but it was great. And I definitely want to follow the series and see where it goes.
Yeah, I text Rich, a lot about the comics that we read, even when he's not going to be on the show. And Stephen Dead says Dokken, Dokken, happens to be the name of an old heavy metal band. Yes.
Good point.
Jabroni Chief loves Dokken as well. But I might have to read issue 2. Like I never really liked Dokken or Ken or whoever. I never liked him as a character. I thought he was really kind of like Wolverine light, and everything that they did with him.
Yeah,
it was always kind of like meh. But having him be the new Helverine gives him purpose, and I really want to see.
True.
I really want to see what that purpose could be. And if the art continues to be this stunning, then I'm definitely going to be with it. So that's really, really good.
Between Blood Hunt and this, it kind of made me, okay, maybe there's some stuff I need to check out. Blood Hunt was great.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Blood Hunt after in the second and the third section. So please stay tuned. Next book we're going to talk about is William of Newbury, #1. It is an indie comic. It's a Dark Horse comic. This was done completely by Michael Avon Oming. So script, art, letters, all done by him. He did everything. And whenever I see an artist who is a triple, quadruple threat, I just am so enamored with their ability to take a product, and get it from beginning to end. And there are tons of them out there who do not get the amount of exposure that they should. So whenever you see an artist that's out there putting out their own stuff like this, definitely support them. I think especially just buy the #1, at least the #1. Especially if you have any inkling if you like it or not, please do that because you're really helping them out. So this was by Dark Horse. It was a #1. Jeff, what did you think about it? I know you're an indie guy and you like indie books. What did you think about this book? I think I thought it was fantastic. I don't think it's something in your normal wheelhouse, though, right?
It's not, but I'm always anxious to pick up a #1, see what they've got. If it doesn't speak to me, no big deal. This was really cool. I loved the art. I loved the character design. I like where the story is going so far. And like I said earlier, it makes me want to pick up issue 2. I know I'm familiar with this author, but I didn't actually have a chance to look up his other stuff.
Powers. He was the artist.
That's
Powers
right.
With Bendis. So that was his claim to fame was being the artist on Powers. So he has a long history, long comic book history.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see where it goes. I like the world. It's kind of set in real world events in was it 12th century Europe?
Yep.
Somewhere around there. But
Yep.
this is fantastic. I've already added it to my pull list.
Yeah. I really thought it was pretty good. And Oming's art is sort of hit and miss with me. I do think that when he draws humans, they're a little bit more wonky, but when you make anthropomorphic characters, which I absolutely love, um,
Same.
it adds to a level of abstractness that I think really works um with his style, because
Hmm.
Oming's style is very much a mashup of, Mignola. It's a mashup of
Yes.
um mostly I keep thinking about Mignola, but other very kind of like um with the hard shadows and the very sparse use of like circles and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah. More
just was a really
stylized, less realistic.
exactly the that kind of artwork was great, and
And
I
yeah,
really
I
liked the
agree.
characters.
I do too. And yeah, I was thinking Magnolia the whole time. It
Yeah.
definitely, you can see some influence there.
Yeah, and it's basically a story about a monk who was technically it's two brothers. One is a raccoon and one is a rabbit, but they're brothers. I don't think they're fraternal. Like I don't think they're
We
related, but
better
they're
not
definitely
look too far into that.
yeah, yeah. But their family left them this monastery, and one is all about keeping the monastery going, and William is about serving the people. And he's a monk, but he is a monk that goes and does exorcisms, and he uses the word of God in order to exorcise demons from people who haunt people and whatnot. And so it's about his journey uh to help a specific city that he's going to. And on the way, he meets some robbers who they fence him and take his money for protection, quote unquote. But he meets another character, another mouse thief who's all about getting not just stealing from people, but actually getting land deeds, and that's where real wealth comes from, which is actually true when you think about it. But
I
they
loved that
can't read.
conversation.
Yeah, like they can't read. So William says, "I will teach you how to read, and you can, if you protect me." So they form an uneasy alliance in which William would teach them how to read, and they will protect them on this road to this new city. And this is only exacerbated by the brother back at the monastery, you know, calling his brother a heretic for cavorting with demons. Says his brother wants to get him out of the way because his brother, just wants the money. So you have the
Yeah.
family dynamic. You have you have William on a quest um, to basically help people, and this other, his pal, his kind of like, um, they're like a duo that's going off, and I think it really works as a narrative. It has enough spookiness to be good. The art is good. Yeah. If you're looking for something to pick up, as an indie, this is definitely one of the ones that you should pick up. Stephen
Agreed.
Dennis says, did the artist of Harrow County
Harrow
paint the
County.
cover there? No, I think he did the cover as well. Let me check real quick. No, he did the cover as well. So no, that's all Steve Oming. But yeah, definitely worth the read.
Yeah.
Now another book that I think Jeff was really, really into, and I'm really excited to see folks like Oswald, Patton Oswald, write
And
comics.
Oswald.
So I had no idea this was coming out, and so I looked for what we were going to review. But I know Jeff was super excited for this one, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce it, but I want you to give me your thoughts. So this is Grommets.
Grommets.
Yeah, by Rick Remender. Let's see. It's Rick Remender, Brian
And Brian Posehn,
yeah, Brian Posehn did
stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I've always thought that he was fantastic. I've always been a huge fan of Brian Posehn. I've always thought,
Yeah,
well, he kind of looks like one of my exes, so that's kind of
that helps.
that definitely does help. He's kind of crazy. So it was artist was Brett Parsons. Color artist was Marino Deniso, and letters was Wooten. They don't give his first name, just Wooten. It's all their last names. But Wooten did the letters.
Good old Wooten.
No, what's that? You love Wootens?
I said good old Wooten.
Yeah, but I love the front, the cover because, or this portion right here, because it looks like an old Thrasher magazine, and this is all about 80s skate punks.
Yeah.
Russ Wooten, thank you so much.
Russ Wooten, okay. Perfect.
Okay, so hold on real quick. So Steve Vendetta says, so is the interior of Oming's book fully painted as well? No, just the cover.
No?
It's a classic pen and ink style for Omen's book. It's a classic pen and ink style. Just that cover was painted.
But the interior art is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes. So tell me about why you were super excited for Grommets, my friend.
So this is in a couple of my wheelhouses. Big fan of Rick Remender. Black Science and Seven Eternity right behind me here. So anything he comes out with, I'm at least going to check out. Been a fan of Brian Posehn's comedy for a long time.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the sitcoms I watch, he pops up on. He wrote a completely unhinged run of Deadpool a couple years ago, where Deadpool actually fought some dead presidents. So I was looking forward to this. And like you said, it's 1980s skate culture and punk rock music. And I'm not a skater, never have been, but I did grow up on punk rock. I was in California in the 80s. So this is, it's very nearby territory to my heart.
Yeah.
And so basically this new kid moves into town, I believe from California, from San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah,
it takes
moves
place
from
in Sacramento.
San Francisco. Say it again.
Yeah, it takes place in Sacramento.
Oh, I did. Okay, I must have missed that part. So it is still in California. Okay, all right. My apologies. But yeah, so new kid moves to town. He's a skater. You can see by his carrying a skateboard, and he sees some other skaters. He tries to make some friends. He embarrasses himself in front of everybody. And this other kid kind of swoops up and say, "Hey, those guys are posers. You don't want to hang out with them anyway. You want to hang out with me. I'm the real skating king."
And his name is Brian. So So I thought, is this a stand-in for Brian Posehn? Because I really hope not, because of what happens to him at the end.
Yeah, that was pretty bloody. But they kind of bond together. They get a ride to the skate park from the character's uncle, which there's some pretty colorful conversation in the truck. Made me laugh. But it sets up the characters, kind of sets up some of the themes, but it's another one where I'm definitely gonna keep reading because I like where it's going, and again, that's part of how I grew up, so it's near and dear.
Yeah, I definitely was getting hints of 80s like the was it Legends of Dogtown about the 80s skate culture in Santa Monica in the Southern California.
Right.
Just moved to Sacramento. And I was getting it Fast Times of Ridgemont High, but set in the 80s. Like there's a scene in which kids are coming out of the school because it's like after school, and it just reminds me 100% of Rock and Roll High School. Like I was definitely getting that stuff, and like the mention of Rush, the t-shirt, wearing a Judas Priest t-shirt, it totally reminded me of my friend Jabroni Chief. Like I think that this would really speak to Jabroni Chief, because I feel that Jabroni Chief and Brian are the same person. So I was like I could totally feel like I think we grew up with these people.
Yeah, we absolutely did. Yeah,
I totally like, and again, whenever you hit upon nostalgia so hard and so like to the point, it makes you sit up and take a look at it. And at the end, when you realize that Brian is, not probably, gonna be signed by Steve Peralta, and he gets his face like completely, done in.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So it is left in a way that I was like, okay. And to have Reminder do something so
down to earth.
Grounded. Thank you. I
have all about the high fantasy.
I half expected aliens to pop in at some point.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, the best thing that we got was the background of the rock that caused him to wipe out. Like, that was pretty cool.
That was really cool. I liked that a lot. I wondered where that was going at first. I was turning the page. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I always, Rich and I, when we're thinking about it, we're like, okay, what is the purpose of this comic? And I definitely think it's partly somewhat autobiographical from Brian Posehn's perspective, because he kind of lived this life.
He did. Yeah.
I also believe that this would make a really good TV series. I think that given what we're getting, and how comic books are so easily adapted to TV and streaming services, I really believe that something like this would scratch that itch for, late 80s, 90s babies like us. Like, I honestly immediately, when I was looking at this, saw this as like, oh, I could definitely see this on a streaming service like Apple TV or even Hulu,
Yeah. So, let's get it on Apple so it doesn't get canceled right away.
There you go. But I'm definitely going to get number 2.
Yeah. It's on my pull list.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be on mine as well. I thought it was, I don't know. And then just at what they were talking about, it just really took me back to well, in 94, I was just a little kid. So we were both just little kids, but in 84, we were just little kids, but the span of like 84 to like that whole like late 80s up until like the beginning of the 90s when we were in high school, it all kind of seemed like it all meshed together. So I don't know about any of y'all if you're older, but it just seemed like the 80s and the 90s kind of get compressed down into like one thing. It just seems like that's kind of how it feels to me. Maybe it feels like that to you listening. Let me know if it doesn't. But this really encapsulated a time that I like remember fondly, but from the 90s, early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Desmond and I weren't these people, but we knew these people.
Oh my God, we did.
We definitely
did. And it was, and the fact that they had like a skate park was kind of cool. Like, I really thought that they'd be in front of a library or something. The fact that they actually had a skate park was kind of cool.
Well, that was my one question about that issue. I was like, did a skate park this large actually exist back then? Because that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah. I thought it would be like someone's backyard, or an abandoned, some abandoned area where they set up all this stuff. So maybe they're taking some creative licensing. So
yeah, that's fine. I'm all for it. It's a comic book. Come on.
Exactly. So it can't all be, it's all fiction. Let it go. So. Well, all right. That brings us to our next commercial break. Please stay tuned as we make ours Marvel and we review a bunch of Marvel titles, including the final Fall of the House of X, as we say goodbye to the Krakoa era. So
goodbye, Krakoa.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
You love comic books. You collect comic books. But even if you own a rare, expensive issue, it's still a copy. How would you like to own a piece of comic book history? The actual art pages the comics were made from? Oh no, you say. That's too expensive. Regular people can't afford that stuff. Can they? Nick Ferrucci says yes. Join the founder of Dynamite Entertainment for the original art experience on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Incredible art at almost unbelievable prices. Does he have some high dollar pieces for the high rollers? Sure, but Nick always makes sure to find amazing pieces priced for the fledgling collector. You can collect original comic art. The original art experience. Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Part of the experience. There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey everybody, we are back. We're back. it's me, Dez, and with me is my good friend
Jeff, or Jeff Rowe, the whitest Wakandan to my friends.
Yes, and yeah, he is a good friend of mine. Thank you so much for tuning in with us and watching this fantastic episode. Rich,
I want to say thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's fun hanging out with you always. Fun talking comics. Hello to everyone in the chat. My laptop's a little bit far away from me, so I can't always see what you guys are chatting, but thanks for tuning in.
Yes, and thank you for coming in and filling in for Rich.
It's my pleasure. I always love doing this with you.
Yeah, he'll be back next week. So he's just chilling. Yeah, it'll be good to have him back as well. But I love chatting with you about comics. It's always a pleasure because we're doing it.
We don't get to do it enough.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But as always, we are giving away a comic book for y'all. So please, if you haven't already, put in that hashtag. We want you to win this comic. I don't want to keep it at my house. So please.
I'll go get it if he has to keep it at his house. So somebody better start putting in some hashtags.
Please. It's a 125 Mahmoud Ashra variant for Rise of the Powers of X number 5. If you haven't already, the hashtag is on your screen. Hashtag EXP lowercase, TCG uppercase, variant VARIANT spelled out lowercase. And fill you if you win, you fill it out. I send you the book. Kelly won one, Kenneth won one. So yes, definitely do it. It's fantastic. We want to give it away. This is for all of y'all. So if you haven't already, please do it. Please know that you can only do it. You can only win if you post it in YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. Alrighty. So please take this comic off my hands, please. Take it out of space.
Don't make me drive to San Francisco and get it.
Yeah, because I will give it to him. So anyway, the first of the Marvel trios that we're going to talk about is Black Panther #1 of the Blood Hunt crossover. I specifically wanted to read this one because I wanted to see how they would handle T'Challa being a vampire. And
who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah, and I was hoping that Storm would show up and like slap him around and stuff, but she's over, roughhousing the Avengers, so we'll just leave it at that. So the writer, what was that?
Yeah, her plate's full.
Yeah, she is. It is. So the writer was Cheryl Lynn Eaton. The artist was Farad Karami. The color artist was Andrew Dahlhaus. And the letter was VC's Joe Sabino. And the cover artist was Andrea Sorrentino, doing a fantastic doing a fantastic cover. So I know that in the past Rich and I said that we were not going to do all of the crossovers because there are a ton.
There's a lot.
Metric ton of crossovers. So we're only doing a select few. This was one of them. And I wanted to say I just happened to pick up one just before we talked about this one. I picked up the Union Jack one on a whim, and it's drawn by one of my favorite artists, Kev Walker, and it's not bad. It's not bad. And I think this is in that same wheelhouse. It's not bad. It's not bad. We get to see what's going on with Black Panther. It takes place in real time with what's going on with Wakanda. If you're not familiar, Wakanda is now a democracy, and the Black Panther is no longer king, and he was banished. And so, so we pick up right after T'Challa was bitten by Blade, and he basically goes to the Temple of Bast and is asking her to please cure him of his affliction. And they're like, no, get out of here. You're out of here.
Nah.
You're banished. And
kick
so
rocks.
kick rocks, exactly. So now he has to find out how he can turn himself and fight Blade's influence, because Blade turned him into a vampire because T'Challa will lead him to a temple in which he can continue his plot to take over the world. So we get to see why he did it in this book, which is interesting. And the art is gorgeous. So I was very surprised that I'll say surprised that I actually liked it. And I'm thinking about getting issue 2. Like, I don't know. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, that cover. Yeah, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I wish Marvel's Virgin covers weren't usually like $80 to $100, or this one would be getting picked up right away. Because I'm a big fan of that artist. I wasn't completely up on the events of Wakanda. Had to do a little catching up there. I did read Blood Hunt 1, which was a bloodbath. Seeing T'Challa navigate his existence in this new situation was something we haven't seen before. I mean, he's no longer a king. He's no longer the Wakandan protector. He's exiled. He has no home. Oh, now he's a vampire. Now he's got bloodlust, but he doesn't want to feed off his own people. It's definitely something we haven't seen T'Challa have to go through before. And he is trying very hard to keep his humanity while he tracks down the solution to this, or the cure to this solution.
Yeah, before his bloodlust takes control. And I think what really made this issue sparkle was the artist.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. And Shuri coming in and showing her strength and actually giving him some of her blood in order to, satiate him.
If you didn't bring up that scene, I was going to, because I love that. The artist nailed the emotion on Shuri's face. She's doing this to save her brother. She doesn't want to do it. She's not happy about this, but she knows it's the only way to keep any speck of his humanity still inside of him. And I love that. And you could see the anguish on her face.
Yeah,
great.
and even he mentions it. So Experience says, so if Blade's biting people, is he turning them into daywalkers? We don't know because the whole sun has been blotted out by the Dark Force. There's still these people, these Dark Force users who have exploded. Basically, they're just like legs, and the top of their bodies are just like spewing out Dark Force that has covered the whole globe. So there's no sun, so they can just walk out freely and are attacking people, um, stacking people indiscriminately. And then we also see another one of the quote unquote vampire demons in the form of like a bug like creature that is feeding on the Wakandans as well. So yeah, I'm interested to see. Like I totally thought that. I don't know what I thought when when you have so many crossovers, it's very hard to see why. Number one, the Union Jack one, you can completely like miss that. It's just a story about Union Jack dealing with it in England. It's like nothing in that book made me think like, oh, I have to read this to tie it into what's going on. This one,
Yeah.
if you want to get a tie-in, I think the Black Panther one is it, because it really adds to what's going on. And I think the Dracula one is the other one you probably want to get, because Dracula is another part that's really like helping to move the narrative forward. And to see what they're doing with Thor, I thought that was crazy. They're using him as a blood bank in order to to keep themselves stronger. And that picture,
I had to read that twice.
Yeah, they're literally have like Thor just strung up like a stuck pig, and they're just like drinking his blood and stuff. And I feel so bad for Thor. I'm like, damn, because like Coog,
When he gets loose, he's gonna be mad.
Oh yeah, but they're getting drunk off that Norse wine, the Norse red wine. They're getting drunk off it. All right, folks. So you stayed this long. Now it's time. The first thing we're going to talk about, and I think we should just kind of, we're going to talk about the wedding issue of
We have to.
Destiny and
Raven
Mystique.
Darkholm.
Yeah, Raven Darkholm Mystique. So this was their Pride issue. Every June, Marvel and DC and other companies do a special Pride issue in which they, they showcase, gay, lesbian, trans, alphabet characters that they have. They put them out, do a couple stories about them, and then they put them away. That's usually what happens, Kelly.
See you next year.
No, seriously, that's what happens. We get a non-starter story that doesn't go anywhere, and it's like, hey, remember these gay characters? Here you go. Boop. So is it pandering? Probably. Do we need it? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it good? Sometimes. This is how you do a Pride issue. Seriously.
Yes.
This is how you do a Pride issue. Right here. Every story related to each other to tell a much larger narrative that matters in the overarching mythos of the characters. This was a fantastic issue. Yes. So
they did a great job of weaving those stories in and out and coming back to the main wedding narrative.
Yep. So there were a total of 5 stories. The first one, Something Borrowed, Something Blue, was by Kieran Gillian. I love it.
Love him.
And they put their pronouns, which I think is really kind of cool.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Artist. So the artist was Rachel Stott, and Michael Bartolo did the colors. The next one was it was Wedding Gate Crashers, which is by Tini Howard, and art by Philip Seavey, with colors by KJ Diaz. The next one was Get Mystique ... A Gift by Tate Bromball, and art by Amy Lou Paliu. And the colors was by Irma Navila. and the next one was Epee is Truth, the sword Epee, and that was by Yoon Ha Lee and art by Stephen Byrne. I wonder if it's in relation to John Byrne. And the last one was The Thief's Surprise by Wyatt Kennedy and art by Jen Saint Stongi. And the colors was by Brittany Pear. So yeah, basically there are 5 stories that intertwine the day that Destiny and Mystique are going to be married. There was 2 other stories at the end, which spoke about the last one was the Peter David story. That was when Destiny died the first time, and she threw her ashes, and the ashes flew back in her face, which was hilarious to make her laugh. I totally forgot about that, but they mentioned it in one of the stories. What was your thoughts of how that all came together and what happened in the stories?
Well, it was great. I liked all the individual stories. I knew the second story was Teenie Howard as soon as I read the first page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to my earlier comment about being raised on Chris Claremont's X-Men. I don't know if you were going to get to this later, but this is his vision finally seen through. This was his original intention for Destiny and Mystique.
Yep.
They were a couple. They were married, but the comics code would not let them do that. So Claremont had to queer code these things. And, me as a kid, even I picked up on some of it. I saw, that one panel of Destiny and Mystique, meeting in the kitchen, both in their bathrobes. Come on.
Yeah.
They're married. They're married. So to have Chris be able to get this out and finally have his vision of this couple, canon is fantastic. I think it's great.
Yeah, and he was in the he was in the audience during the wedding.
I spotted that face right away.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh my god! When I saw that, I was like, it's Chris Claremont. And at the
other
end,
thing I really
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, the and I read a lot of comic books this week. I'm having a brain pause. What happened at the end, Desmond? Sorry.
Oh no. And then basically it was just this is one of the ones that
the heist.
Yeah, the heist. I mean, they basically it was a ruse to get Scarlet Witch out of her house in order for Mystique to steal something for the wedding. And so the Avengers leave because they were in the original Avengers mansion that is now a
tourist spot, I think.
Yeah, tourist spot, and I was like, okay. And that's where they got married. And they have it was just silly, and it was a robot, and people were like, oh my god, and they left to stop Mystique because she was stealing something. And so and the Mystique jumps at the window, they get married, and they run off together. And I thought it was just a fun issue. It didn't really have super high stakes, but it added so much to clarify the mythos that Chris Claremont so cleverly handled in a time where things like this just weren't done. And to finally have it realized is just I have never been so proud of an issue in my life.
Well, for me, it was. Sorry, don't mean to keep cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
For me, it was kind of a 1-2 punch, and I am a straight man, but seeing Nightcrawler's heritage finally locked down, and then seeing Mystique and Destiny get married, for me I loved that combo because I was never a fan of the whole Azazel retcon of being Nightcrawler's dad, but then to just say, hey, we're living in 2024 now. No, they're both the parents. Mystique can do this now, and which is also kind of cool because that's a bump in her power level. That's not something they've said that she could do before. So it was great. I loved the Wolverine story. Wolverine with the kids trying to figure out what they're going to get Mystique
And a
for
Noel.
presents.
And then Noel being such a little bitch. I was like, stop it, Noel. He's like, she's a murderer. She's a mutant, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I mean, yeah.
I kept seeing that online. People are like, how the hell are the Avengers going to a wedding with 2 known terrorists?
What do you do? You know, she helped. I mean, she helped. She's 1 minute you're a villain, 1 minute you're not. Why isn't Wanda in prison? I mean, come on. You know, you got to kind of like throw it out and let it go. You really do. You really do. So the Iceman. What was that?
You can't nitpick. Yeah,
you can't. You really can't. I mean, you can. Rich does it all the time, but yeah.
Well, we're talking about people's superpowers. You can't get too in the weeds with what can and can't happen.
Yeah. So Rich says, just saying, I'm glad I'm not reviewing this. I can't wait to talk to him about that. And he says, "Thank you, Jeff, for bringing up, you know, that it was all queer coded back in the day. If you were queer, you got it. Now, for me, I'm younger than Rich, you know, so it took me a minute to get it, and it was after a couple of reads, then I finally said, okay, like that makes sense. But I didn't see it. I didn't really notice it at first until much later, and I read back, and I was like, oh, great. And there is a interview with Chris Claremont in the back of the book that really kind of speaks to his intent, and I thought that was really good.
That was fantastic. I'm really glad they included that. I enjoyed that interview a lot.
And then there was a couple bonus content. The one was the X Factor annual. That was X Factor Annual 6 by Peter David and Guang Yap, and that was Destiny's Last Laugh, which is I thought it was funny. And then they had the Marvel Voices Iceman story by writer and artist Luciana Vecchio. I thought the art was fantastic in that. I really liked the artwork, but it was just a little, you know, side story about Iceman, you know, being gay and doing gay stuff. And I thought that was fine. You know, seriously, I was just like, okay, you know.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was like, I get it. You know, I'm glad Iceman's living his best life, though you're not really seeing him much anymore. And I really hope that changes. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
he's one of the originals. You got to keep him in the picture.
Exactly. All right. I don't know if you've been waiting for this, but here it is.
I have.
This is our conversation about Rise of Powers of X number 5, the final in the Krakoan era. Although I think the next X-Men kind of is like the final nail, but this is really when it all happens. Yeah. So writer was Kieran Gillian. Artist was Luciano Vecchio. Color artist was David Curiel, and the letterist was VC's Clayton Cowles. The experience says Mystique, be gay, do crimes, and of course that's what she was doing.
That's what she does. Yeah,
that's what she's doing on her wedding day, straight up.
And she was rocking that suit, by the way.
She really was. Like that cover was amazing.
And I really like how Mystique brought Destiny back in the Resurrection Protocols when she was a smoking hot show or smoke show.
Yeah, like she was not. Yeah, I really would have thought it would be really cool if they made her old again. Although I think Destiny would be pissed though. She'd be like, "You brought me back and I'm old." I'd be mad at her. Okay, here we go, Jeff. I'll let you start.
All right.
This is it.
All right.
This is the end. What are your thoughts on how they wrapped it up?
So you kind of mentioned this earlier. It's the last 3/4 of the Krakoan storyline. It's a bit muddy. There was a lot going on. I have to put out a disclaimer that I'm a huge Jonathan Hickman fan. He's probably my favorite current writer. And House of X, Powers of 10 blew me away. Couldn't believe what I was reading. It was just so different from what the other X-Men status quos have been. So the whole thing has really made me happy. Like I said, towards the end, it's kind of tricky. There was a lot of tie-ins, but you know, the whole Dominion thing with Essex and the battling to try to get that Dominion, and then Moira going bad. It's a lot, but it was a lot of fun as well. And it's going to be interesting to see where everything goes afterwards. But yeah, I mean, they've got this huge looming threat over them that's out of time and out of space. How do you beat something like that? Well, you call in a cosmic power and let her deal with it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's what she did.
And that cover is fantastic.
Yeah.
So spoilers, okay?
Oh yeah, of course.
So the Jean basically summoning the multiverse of X Phoenixes to battle the Dominion, and every little he keeps going through he tries to stop Jean's birth. Well, she takes care of that. He tries to go back and do this, and Jean stops that. And I love how he said, she has to win every time. I only have to win once. And he still couldn't do it.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting how they fought. It really reminded me of how, like, a little bit of how the Sandman fought Lucifer in the Sandman TV show. And you probably didn't watch it, but that
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. But you know how would cosmic entities fight? And I thought it was great that he was going through time trying to do these little things, and she had to find them all to do that. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought at first when I first read it, I was like, this is kind of annoying. I was expecting like more of a like knockdown, drag out fight. But at the beginning, I was like, okay, I get it. She cannot find him, and that's what Xavier and Moira were doing. And so when Moira came in, he was able to talk to her. So even though Xavier was a complete bastard, he tried to redeem himself and redeem Moira at the same time. And Moira getting her final life outside of time and space, I thought was fantastic way to end.
That was great.
Given all the I'm sorry.
Go, please.
No, I'm saying I just thought that was a really nice way to sum up from her beginning and her end, with them being on the park bench. I thought Gillian really was handed, this, what was, all the other writers and everything together. They all kind of came together, and this is what they came out with. And I thought it was pretty okay. With
for what they
go, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What they were dealing with, all those threads, they were going to have to pull in a rock star writer to tie it all together.
Yeah, and he did it, and it just seemed like even though part of me at the beginning, right off the jump, I was like, meh. But as I started to really break it down, I was like, okay, this is the only way they could properly do it. I honestly thought that they were going to trap Enigma in the White Hot Room. You can watch those old episodes if you've been listening. I said that. But the fact that he was completely destroyed and his carcass is laid out to protect the timeline, and how the other Dominion that was not the Essex Dominion turned their back on him. We're like, we don't want to follow that, no. Or we don't want to mess with that. Sorry, that's my PG-13. I liked that, and so it just became a battle between the two of them. I don't know. I really thought it was fantastic. And now Jean is Phoenix. Phoenix is Jean. They are one entity now. And now she gets to go out and explore what that means. Sounds fantastic. I am super excited for that.
Yeah.
And I think the artwork is going to be great. I cannot wait to review that. I think that this, out of anything, this is the second coming of Jean Grey. If we take anything out of the Krakoan era, it's that Jean Grey is that bitch, and I love it.
Yep.
And she's going out there and she's flying out doing her thing. I feel bad for Scott because I have no idea what he's going to do, but I know Emma is sighing relief because she gets her, her boy toy back. But still, that's another story. But yeah, I mean, I gotta see what the final X-Men book is gonna be. I really wish Rich was here because I know he's probably rolling his eyes, or maybe he did like it. I don't know. He's been pretty quiet during our conversation. So we'll see. I'll talk to him about it.
Yeah, I really liked the one line towards the end where Xavier convinces Moira what's going on, and what was her line exactly? Is "Hey Jean, come and get me," and then done. Dominion beat.
Yep. And
that was so cool.
So Rich says, I'm happy that Vishio showed that what a powerhouse artist he is. His Resurrection, was gorgeous, and he really knocked it out of the park with this issue. 100% agree.
Yeah.
And I know some
Yeah.
people, some reviews that I've read said it was disjointed, and they really wish that RB Silva had did it. And while I agree because he was the artist that was doing it at the beginning and just kind of cuts the continuity a little weird, his art was phenomenal. The issue looked beautiful. So I can understand when people are saying that, but at the same time, this was amazing. The art was amazing. The way I've never seen Phoenix look so good. I mean, I'd say the only other person, because I'm a huge Arthur Adams drew the hell out of Phoenix too. So that's this.
Yep.
So, but
yeah, it was because of you. That was my first. It was because of you. That was my first like artist obsession in comic books. I love. Yeah, you really got me in Arthur Adams. He was fantastic.
Still is. He's not dead yet. So anyway,
no, that's true. Yeah,
but that's it for it, everybody. So one last call. If you want this Mohamed Ashar variant issue, please. Now's the time. Last call. Put it in there. Rise of Powers of X number 5 variant 1 in 25. If you haven't already, please put it in this hashtag. You see it now. Please put it in. You got less than a minute before our lovely JD is going to spin that wheel, and we're going to pick ourselves a winner. So please. All righty. Yeah, great job, Jeff. All right, experience. Paul. JD, let her rip. Okay, let's see. I want my MTV. All righty, Steve Vendetta, you are the winner, Steve.
All right,
please, Steve.
Congrats.
Please. I'm sorry, Hardcore Comics, you just missed it, but I will keep you in mind for next time. So definitely. All righty.
Just under the wire.
Please fill out the form. Please. It's very important you fill out the form, because I don't have that form. I can't send you your comic. It's very important that you send the form. Please. Want to send this comic out to you. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to come out here to sign in, clean up your office.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yes,
I really had a great time talking to you guys. I'll come back anytime you want me.
Oh yes, most definitely. I think we might have to have a round table or something in the future. Fun. Really have a nice conversation. Probably, in the future we'll definitely talk about it. But thank you, everyone. Please. There's more to come. Stay tuned for Mog and Mel. Their startup at 7:00. Please. And Steve, please fill out the information. JD, if you could pop that in, I'd greatly appreciate it. And we will see you next time when Rich will be back, and we'll be talking about some other stuff. So I'll pin the top of the chat. Thank you so much, Experience. And with that, we'll see you later. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.
Twitch, it's not just what happens when you have too many energy drinks anymore. Check out our content over there too.